And it says we are live.
We're gonna assume we're live.
We're just gonna, yeah,
It says we're live, so we're just gonna assume.
we're gonna go for it. So hello and welcome to the book discussion. Today we are talking about Covet by Tracy Wolff, which is the third book in the Crave series.
Yes.
I am Alicia from Books and Things with Alicia, and I am joined with my co-hosts. I will let them introduce themselves.
I can go first, I guess. I'm Morgan from Morgan's Bookshelves, and yeah, I am excited because while I have read this book, it has been a while, and I didn't get around to rereading it this time because I forgot, but I will remember things as they come to pass. And I will be more prepared in the future, I promise.
Well, I'm Hope from It's Hope's Books, and I'm going to pair what Morgan was kind of saying of like, she didn't read it. I'm the only one on screen that finished it this time around.
Yep.
It is true. I am not completely finished, but I have less than 200 pages, so
And we've all read it before.
I remember it, yeah.
Yeah.
As with rereads, it's you remember everything, you just may not remember everything.
I was able to get that Target sticker off in one go.
I love when that happens, just saying, because I hate when they put Target stickers on the front.
I randomly just felt a corner of it like up, and I was like, ooh, let's just try to peel this off because I don't like it.
I know.
The only thing is I can't remove that thing up there where it says only at Target.
Mm-hmm.
At least it's fairly small and in the corner.
Yeah.
Do we have a volunteer to read the synopsis, or shall I?
My dust jacket is on the other side of my room, so you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it.
All right. Well, the synopsis for this one says, I may have reached my breaking point, as if trying to graduate from a school for supernaturals isn't stressful enough. My relationship status has gone from complicated to a straight-up dumpster fire. Oh, and the bloodletter has decided to drop a bomb of epic proportions on us all. Then again, when has anything at Catmere Academy not been intense? And the hits just keep coming. Jackson's turned colder than an Alaskan winter. The circle is splintered over my upcoming coronation. As if things couldn't get worse, now there's an arrest warrant for Hudson and my supposed crimes, which apparently means a lifetime prison sentence with a deadly, unbreakable curse. Choices will have to be made, and I fear not everyone will survive. Dum dum dum.
There you go.
And I don't know if we talked about this in the previous discussions, but when you read the synopsis, there are certain letters that are highlighted.
I brought that up, and
in one of the other ones.
Yeah, because I have them all written down, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder what Cherishes is going to be, and if it's going to carry on into Sweet Vengeance." And I'm hoping that series is a little bit more on the new adult side or upper YA, because I don't know.
It'll be interesting because I think with that one, I don't know what perspective. I mean, I know it's supposedly about a certain character that is mentioned in this book, which we'll get to, but I think it's his side, so I think he's a little on the younger side, so I think it's going to be YA.
Oh, that's also true. Hold on.
Yeah, because that character's what, I think 17?
16, 17? Yeah, 16 and 17 in this one.
Because he's described as roughly Grace's age or a little younger.
Yep.
And she's 18.
Yep.
Hold on.
Or turns 18 in this book.
I usually I care about Hudson right now, but at the moment, I do not. And I need to be very careful about looking at...
Okay, what do you need me to look up so you don't spoil yourself?
I was looking up the wiki for Remy, but I got Hudson's instead for some reason. And also, for those who don't know, I have not read past Covet, so spoilers for
Yeah, no
Court and
spoilers.
Charm. Yeah.
and Charm for to a minimum, please, because I get I don't want to say violent, but
We'll just say upset.
You get violent sometimes. You've yelled at me multiple times.
well, that's when you spoil me without like asking if you can.
That's what accidental spoilers are. I swear to everybody watching, I have gotten death threats from Morgan of being like, if you say one more fucking thing, I will find a way to kill you. You've done that before.
You've said the exact same thing to me before, so
I know. I don't think Remy has a wiki page on.
That's dumb. They should.
May not have.
To be fair, it's not updated. It's not really updated beyond like the first 2 books, pretty much.
Oh,
that's gonna say it may not be updated to its full.
Yeah.
So let's talk about where book 2 leaves off and this one begins. What are our thoughts?
So I just finished book 2 last night, and the absolute chaos that Hudson decides to cause is iconic. I love him so much. He's just a pure chaotic. He's a chaotic neutral. If y'all play D&D,
I don't, but I know what that means.
Hudson is 100% a chaotic neutral.
Yeah. I would say I had a thought, and then as soon as I started speaking, it went away. Why?
It happens to the best of us.
Hudson is very strategic with what he does. I've noticed more in this one than the last one.
Definitely. He, like, in the beginning especially, you can see him being very meticulous on what he says and what he does, especially to annoy Grace. Like, he's meticulous in every aspect, but especially annoying people.
And I think that plays into more of, like, he knows where they're supposed to be, but he can't tell her right out, this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, she can't just be like, oh, he can't just be like, oh yeah, this is everything. Especially, like, him teasing her about, like, he knows things that she doesn't know that he knows. It's like he can't outright say, well, I know this, like, listing everything, because then it would be, like, even more questions instead of leaving Grace, like, just questioning.
Yeah, and I think that also plays into a part with she may not remember, and he does, but at the same time, with her state of mind, I don't think she would think that he's telling the truth. Like, she's still skeptical.
In the beginning, she wouldn't believe. By the end, she would believe every single word he says.
Yeah.
So, as somebody who has not read Charm, so I have no context for anything that Hudson is saying, it is a huge-ass mystery to me. I found myself kind of feeling Grace's frustration, both when I read this the first time and then obviously in Crush, because I was like, you can just fucking tell her. You can just use your words. We know how much you love to talk, my dude. You could very easily say something to her.
Okay. Without spoiling things, yes, I do agree with that. From my first read, I was like, just tell her. But upon doing the reread, I'm like, I understand why he's not telling her, because he is essentially
being an asshole.
No. He is intentionally not telling her to save that relationship that they are forming.
I mean, I guess.
I think it also plays into the whole she doesn't remember. So he's probably got that whole conflict of how much can I tell her without breaking what they already have.
Yeah.
And how much can he say without like pushing her away in a sense? Because remember, at this point, she knows that there's a connection, but she doesn't know why there's a connection.
I mean, I guess, but still, just for my brain, it's like, can you just use your goddamn words?
I mean, I wish he would, but
Yeah, that would have saved a lot of hassle.
I think
in later books.
I think it also plays into how Tracy Wolff has written it, because if, and I can't say anything, but once you read Charm, you'll get everything. But if you go back and you reread the books, then you see little snippets and foreshadowing that leads up to that. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I have so many foreshadowings in here of like notes, and it's like, well, I can't
say anything.
Even when we're going through notes, I can't probably say half the things.
Yeah.
Because it's like reference to blank in blank book.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be Court or Charm.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's a lot of that. But so I'm interested to see what happens.
Clarify. I have read like the first 150 pages of
Court,
but beyond that, I have not read anything.
There's a lot that happens too in that
book.
book.
Yeah, considering the fact that Covet, it is, at least my copy is
almost,
I think,
680 pages, because holy shit.
Yeah, and that's mine too.
Court is packed at the moment, so.
My Court is up and over there. I was like, where is it?
My Court, if I count the extra chapters, it's 689.
I always count the extra chapters personally, so.
Yeah.
So it's about the same length.
Yes. And I saw that Cherish is not going to be as big. It's only 592.
That scares me.
That does scare me, because I feel like,
because
even if Cherish picks up where Court leaves off, then there's a lot to get.
There's through. A lot. And the thing is we know that it's the final book, because literally it has been stated that it is the conclusion to the series.
But do we know that for sure? Because other authors, Rick Riordan, Sarah J. Maas, have done that before, where they said, like, for example, I will use Sarah J. Maas as an example. A Court of Wings of Ruin was supposed to be the last Avatar book. There weren't supposed to be any others after that. And then she comes back and like, here. By the way, and Rick Riordan does the same thing. He says that he's done writing about the Percy Jackson characters, right? And he's not going to go back to like the original OG trio. And later this year, we once again have him like
returning back to the characters.
Returning with his like kind of original like format. So, long story short, I won't trust authors saying that it's the final book in a series until they are dead, because authors in chaos, as you should know, Hope, because you are one. So, if they decide,
And even like Stephanie Meyer did that too with the Twilight series. I mean, she did a different perspective, but it's still the same universe.
Exactly. And so, what other authors have done that? Continued onward series. Left off. Kira Cass did that with the Selection series.
Yep.
E.L. James did that with the 50 Shades series.
Plus, Court says the conclusion to the series on my copy.
Well, that's a lie.
But
Does it really? I wonder if mine says it. I want to look now.
I don't want to get up and go get mine.
Court, like, see, y'all see what I mean? I don't trust.
Like, for now, we're going to think it's the final, but also we won't know until at least we read it.
On the back of mine, it says the stunning conclusion to the series.
Well, that's okay.
So she's already. But I mean,
so what I'm hearing is we're getting more books after Cherish, pretty much.
Exactly.
But that also begs the question, like, if this was supposed to be the conclusion, I mean, Charm, I mean, yes, Charm is book 5, but it happened between books 1 and 2. So where does Cherish fall is my question.
My want for Cherish is that it's going to start transitioning into new adult, because I am assuming that they will eventually end up doing like college, or they'll become college aged, and so it'll become more of a new adult series. That's my hope. But at the same time, I also don't know for sure, but that's what I want. Because here's the thing. These books get plenty dark as YA books. Mm-hmm. Like, Tracy has no problem killing children, as she has shown time and time again.
Imagination.
And she has no problem doing things like sacrifices and all this other stuff. Like, she has no problem with that. So, and also, before she wrote the Crave series, she was an adult romance author, or is, I guess. I don't know if she's still writing in that genre. I assume she still is.
She is? I'm not 100%.
But she has published so many books that are adult, smutty romances. Like, she has straight up erotica. So, we know she's capable of doing it.
I mean, if you're watching, I would not complain if there was a book in the adult genre of Hudson and Grace. Just saying.
I don't think anybody would, because literally
among other characters.
Because literally in Court, Grace says some kind of line about like describing Hudson's bed, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, that is not exactly a YA statement.
I mean,
there's a line in here that anytime that when I read it, I was like, oh dear Lord, I forgot how.
Are you, which one are you talking about? Because I'm talking about when she's describing his bed.
Well, no, I'm thinking of a different line.
Oh.
I underlined it. Can I find it without taking too long?
We'll read the question or the comment here. It says, and it ends on a cliffhanger, apparently. Court. Also, Covet feels like it's spreading into new adult territory, and you can so tell she's a romance author, lol. And then I want to F Hudson on his bed, lol. Literally. I mean, yeah. Even with Covet, with this one, Grace had her 18th birthday. So, into
like, this is a line that isn't the one I was thinking of, but it's underwear and glass slippers optional.
Yes.
So,
where is the line
that specifically? Like that line in itself kind of goes into the new adult territory, but also says something about their relationship.
Mm-hmm. And also, even this is a line that I was thinking of. In case you haven't noticed, I'm not very good at following rules. Besides, there are lots of other places I want to kiss you. And then he starts tugging down my sweats, and I just put, I'm sorry, that was on a cell. But like that, you're like, we logically we know what's happening, and on the next line, the next page, it's like, although we didn't technically have sex last night, we did a lot of other stuff. In YA, they wouldn't mention that. Beyond the first line above it is, I spent the night with Hudson. That's where YA, like complete YA, would end off.
That's where it would kind of fade black.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then the next morning happens and everybody's eating waffles.
Literally, it would just jump into everybody else. Like, coming into the room with breakfast, like it'd be like, and then it would be like a hint of like, ooh, what did you do last night? It would be like nothing, and then moving on instead of like
diving.
Like, here's the thing: if Tracy Wolff has no problem hinting to the fact that her characters have sex in this series specifically, I think
the thing
she's
is
just gonna go for it.
It gets more descriptive than even Covet.
What does?
What topic are we talking about?
The stuff.
It gets more descriptive than Covet.
Where?
In the next couple of books.
Charm.
Yeah.
It's not like oh my god, like erotica, but it's like a
soft.
Are we sure this is YA still?
Yes. Well, I
haven't read Charm either, but I just assume it's a continuation to their 4-month bonding that they feel ready to progress. And yes, why not just do it? OMG, describe stuff. Yes, so if you haven't read Charm, Charm is what happens in that 4-month span between book 1 and book 2. But yeah, things happen. You have to read it.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, is right.
But the way that we're just jumping all over the place with this.
How do we feel about the characters? We'll change the subject so we don't go too into detail. But how do we feel about the characters in this one?
Frankly,
we still love everybody. I actually had in the beginning of the book, I think it was Grace who mentioned it. But I called them the Magnificent Magical 8.
Oh boy.
They were like all listed. It was like Flint, Eden, Mekki, Luca, Jackson, Hudson, Macy, and Grace. So they're like the Magnificent Magical 8.
Yeah. I mean, we've kind of already talked a bit about Hudson and how we all love his snark and him being an asshole.
I love Hudson.
But I feel like this is the book where he really, like, you kind of see him grow as a character, as in trusting others, but also him accepting what he did in the past and realizing that even though he did those things in the past, it doesn't necessarily make him as bad as he thinks he is. And that's definitely because of the prison and like Grace kind of convincing him. But even then, you can kind of see him like kind of almost realizing of like, just because I did these things, just because of my upbringing, doesn't inherently mean that I have to give in to what my powers can do and give in to what I was born to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fully that, but you kind of start to see that.
Yeah, and I also think with Grace and Hudson, the type of relationship that they have, I think Grace plays a big part in that. Because she's now learning to not only see that it was his choice, but not his choice to do what he did when he did it. But now that he's, like you said, he's accepting it and she's with him and he knows what's going to happen. So, yes.
He has somebody to live for. He has somebody who is a reason that he needs to be good and more than just survive, to thrive.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. He doesn't have to worry, per se, about who's going to yell at him next.
Because even if somebody...
be Grace.
Yeah, and even if somebody else does, he has Grace that he can talk to and be like, did I really do that? Was I really was I really an asshole? And her just be like, honey, yes. That's your middle name.
For some reason, my brain now is only thinking of the subreddit. Just, am I the asshole? And Hudson going on, like, to the computer being like, am I the asshole for da-da-da-da-da-da? Like, pick any of his...
For, like, destroying an entire, like, area of land in the Arctic.
Destroying my school's sports stadium because my father tried to murder my
Mate.
brother's girlfriend, who I also happen to be in love with, and that I melted his bones into dust.
No. Am I the asshole for burying the girl that I love because it'll bring her back to life?
Yeah. My brother thinks I'm the asshole. Her cousin is indifferent, and she's fine with it.
Not me trying to think of other funny things of the am I the asshole with other characters.
Let's see. Am I the asshole for living inside of my brother's girlfriend's head and
taunting her
constantly because only she can hear me and see me?
Oh my god, that would drive me insane.
Oh, here's another one. Am I the asshole for draining my brother of his life force in order to keep myself alive?
He's fine, by the way. Just like adding that to the end of like edit. He is fine and alive in brackish-ish.
He's still alive. ... For now.
For now. His soul kind of isn't there anymore now.
Yeah. But it's good to see, like you said, Hudson is like growing as a character and is being more accepting to what's around him, like people, friends, that type of thing. Which goes into Macy. What do we think about Macy? Yes, I love Macy.
Macy is the love of my life, and I ship her with Eden so fucking hard, it's not even funny.
There was a line that I think I underlined or something, and it was just like, oh, I don't know. When in doubt, I don't know the pacing of this, so I don't even know what area of the book it is.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I'll say while you look for it is Macy has gotten more assertive in this book, I will say. Because even in like chapter 2, she was saying that even though she wasn't taking a class, she had a topic for Grace's paper, and she was talking about like doing a paper on mating bonds. And she was like, well, we all know how those work. And she's like, yeah, but you're a walking example, and she's the only one that's ever had a mating bond severed by something other than death.
Yeah.
So she's like, this is your topic, like you're gonna write about it because you're the only one that's had it happen, and apparently this isn't a thing. So, but between that and other things that she's said, she's definitely like growing as her own person in this book.
Yeah, definitely. And Brian's trying to figure out how to word this. Of like, she's definitely turning into, because I feel like in the first 2 books, at least for me, it's like she was very much just there as, oh, Grace's cousin who she's close with. Mm-hmm. But in this, kind of as you were saying, she's becoming her own person in some ways, which I did really enjoy, of like her gaining a bit more individuality.
It's kind
outside of the group.
Yeah, it's kind of like she's been in a bubble for the first 2 books, and now that it's popped with certain things happening, now she's like, oh shit, this is real. Let's think about things a little bit.
It was her losing Xavier that really popped that bubble and was like, this is more than just fun and games. This is shit that people are dying, and I now need to be more self-aware about that, but also care about others.
Yeah, exactly.
She does what she can to protect her friends and family.
Yep.
Which I like that about Macy, because now she's like, I have an awareness. Things are happening, and how can I help to protect the ones that I love?
Yeah.
So I like that. Who else? What do we think about Dragon Court?
I want to go.
I want to go. I want the $3 million that Grace won.
Right?
Honestly, I will take anything from the Dragon Court because I not only am I poor, but I could use that money to buy books. I could.
I like the Dragon Court of how it's explained of how, like, yeah, the Dragon Court is this very lavish place in New York, but that's not where it has always been. That's not how it always has been. And the way that the like dragon like hierarchy works, so like, yeah, obviously there is like brain farting on names. What is Flint's parents' names?
Neri and Aiden.
Thank you. I brain farted it. But of how, like, yeah, they're in charge, but even then, they're not necessarily, like, kind of how Flint explains it, of, like, how even, like, the Horde works, of how everybody has access to it, and they're not, like, hoarding it for, like, just the royalty.
Yeah.
It shows how the court is a very take what you need, give what you can society.
Yeah.
Yep. I think they even said something along the lines of, even though not everybody can attend the festival, they're able to do it in different parts around the world so that everybody can participate.
Yeah. Of like, I'd imagine that maybe there's like smaller communities of dragons just like around the globe, and they try to get together to do their own little thing, even if it's like just like two families that they can still do something, versus the magnificent thing that is in New York, which is the way that it's described even is so like ornate and beautiful. I'm like, it almost seems like it shouldn't be real. It's not, but like in the grand scheme of things, if it was real, it is described as like too beautiful to be real.
Yeah, because it's very like ball gowns and tuxedos. It's very like black tie affair type, and it's very shiny, as they describe it in some.
Yeah.
But just the fact that like even the Horde itself kind of, I picture it being like a slow moving tornado as it like goes around in the center of a room, and then people can just grab something or something comes to them and they can pick something. That's cool.
Yeah, that's kind of what I gathered as well from my
Yeah, I imagined it almost like, you know, those like kind of like ornate chandeliers where it's like layered and it hangs down low, kind of something like that, but just giant, filling the entire ceiling. But instead of like chandelier pieces, it's the things floating.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder how long they would have to prepare that, like gathering everything before the festival.
I don't even know.
Or is it just a kind of snap of a fingers and it's all there? I guess if they used magic has to be involved in some way, shape, or form.
There's always magic. Always magic.
And other characters? What do you think of Nuri? That's what Flint's mom's name is.
Yeah, Nuri, I think.
I like her.
I love her, especially how we're gonna jump to the end, because that's, I feel like, where she really shines, of literally giving her dragon heart to Jackson to save him.
Yes.
That, I got emotional with that. Like, I that entire scene of like Flint practically dying, and then Jackson dying and being brought back to life. I knew it was happening, and I still was crying because it's so well described that you feel like you're watching it, and it's like literally happening right in front of you, and you're there, and it's very emotional.
It would be something really fast.
And then Nuri kind of sacrificing her dragon. She can no longer turn into a dragon now.
I know.
And that's like you're willing to do this for your son's friend.
I also wonder if there was like an inkling of she knew he could be more.
I think I wrote a note down.
Or if it's kind of like you've helped keep my son safe, so here's what I'm going to do for you type thing. And I have so many questions. Like, if you give up your dragon heart, what happens? I mean, she was queen. Is she still queen? She just can't. She literally can't just turn into dragon form anymore? Or is there a protocol for that?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I just have an well, I've underlined a thing of Nuri just gave her heart away and her dragon to Jackson for the rest of her life. The sacrifice is unimaginable. And so it's like her sacrifice, I think she has an inkling of, or at least of like knowing that it's probably knowing that like she knows that Flint has always had a crush on Jackson and is maybe like
that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, knows that there's the possibility of something more there, and she doesn't want to, like, has had her mate for however long, so she's like, I don't want to risk my son not being able to have this, and so she gives up her dragon because of that, maybe, but it's such a selfless act. She's not thinking of herself. She's thinking about her son and his friend and just that entire group of friends, even. Because it's like she knows that, yeah, if Jackson dies, it's not only going to affect Flint, but it's going to affect everybody.
Yep.
And it's even probably going to give Cyrus the upper hand of being like, I was able to kill my own son. Who else can I kill?
That is true, yeah.
Because it was Cyrus's bite that killed Jackson.
That is very true.
And also, speaking of Jackson, I love how he was like, I know I'm dying. Use my power to save Flint. That was the first selfless thing he's done in this entire series.
Yes, thus far, yes. And I wonder if that plays a part into, like, because he did that, that's why she gave him her dragon heart.
Possibly.
Because it's kind of like another creature showed my son kindness. So let me do something for him so that he doesn't die. There's a whole lot of questions. I still like that, and I also think Neri sees it too, that even though she's dragon and everything, I think it's a whole, like, we have such a diverse group of kids that are trying to do everything they can to save family and friends from the Vampire King. And now, all of a sudden, they're actually making things work. Yeah. And I wonder if Neri's like, well, if they can do it, why can't we all do it?
Yeah.
Ouch. Who else in character do we want to talk about? Or do we go into other...
Can we talk about the bloodletter?
We can.
Of that huge reveal of the bond of, like, her being like, I made it.
I was wondering, like, even though this was a reread, even reading it the first time, and I was just like, wait, what?
I know. I'm like, I like.
Because that, I mean, Grace is right. Like, why didn't she say something before? But why wait until now when she has Hudson as a mate? And they go to see her. And why is it that she tells Grace after she freezes Hudson? Like, he's not supposed to know? Or I had questions.
Not me finding a note that I need to add.
Trying to remember exactly what chapter that was, but I find it interesting too that Grace and Hudson thought that they would be able to go to the bloodletter to do the same thing with their bond that they were able to do with Jackson's bond.
Well, because when they went, they obviously thought that the bond that Jackson and Grace had is the same as what Hudson and Grace had. But obviously, we learned it's different.
Well, yeah, because Grace and Hudson's bond is one solid color, whereas Grace and Jackson's was two colored. So that tells me that if they're only supposed to be a one solid color, then it was in some way, shape, or form tampered with. But why did they think that they could go to the bloodletter and have theirs broken? And I agree. How did she even know that there was a spell to do it unless it was manufactured?
Yep. And obviously, we know a little bit more than what we can say. But it still brings up that thing of like rereading that whole the whole thing with the bloodletter. It was kind of like here's where the Easter eggs are starting to get
Specific?
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
I'm gonna send you Alicia a thing. I can't say it on the live because spoilers, but like it's a line that I underlined. But it's about the bloodletter.
There's a lot of questions that I have in terms of the bloodletter, and I know from what I've read in the series, some of those questions will get answered later on, but I still have a couple. And I'm hoping that in some way, shape, or form, Cherish will answer those questions. I just don't know.
I don't know either.
Can't spell.
When can you ever spell?
True.
Ah, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, how it's like if the information is right in front of us if you read between the lines.
Yeah, and that could be because, and even throughout the whole series too, the different times that you do see the bloodletter, she does seem like she takes on different forms, and it's whatever, I guess, benefits her in a way.
Yeah, whatever she wants that person to see her as.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be like an all-powerful being like that, you may as well like.
I guess that comes with the ancient vampire territory.
Yeah. But also, there is magic in the world too, so it's entirely possible that, like, theoretically, she like magically different. But also, I have not read as far as you guys in the series, and I don't remember a ton from Covet, because I have the brain the size of a walnut. Most of what I do remember from Covet is traumatizing.
What do we think about Hudson and Jackson's relationship in this book?
Ooh, they need therapy. They do.
Yeah, they just need to go to Yeah, just
Family
therapy.
But
Yeah.
I think it says a lot about their character too, because you can see like in the end of book 2, like where Jackson was with Grace and where he is now. You can see the decline. And then you can see the rise in Hudson from where he was in book 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And y'all know how I feel about Jackson, because I've spent most of my notes for book 2 are literally just me roasting the fuck out of Jackson and being like, shut up. Nobody asked you. Fuck off. I even wrote, you are not God on one of them.
Troy, I have a note where it's like mentioning Jackson. And I'm like, I totally forgot he wasn't even where everybody else was. Like, I forgot he wasn't in the group. When they come back from the Dragon Court and he's like a dramatic ass jumping from the freaking like stairs, and I'm like, I forgot that your annoying ass wasn't even with us. No wonder I enjoyed that part.
My feelings about Jackson are not a secret.
But I feel like with him not being at Dragon Court, it allows the other characters to have the fun that they had, where you don't have to worry about Jackson's constant
like doom and gloom.
Yeah.
And also it allows Grace and Hudson to be more close and to build on their relationship without Jackson looming in the corner and Grace being like, I really shouldn't because I still do love you, but I'm also kind of falling for your brother, so I don't want to feel guilty. Like the thing that happens at the Dragon Court between them would not have happened
if Jackson was around. Yeah.
If Jackson was around, even within the freaking building. Honestly within the city limits.
Yeah, like honestly, we all, like I said, y'all know how I feel about Jackson. So
in this book, I feel like this is the first book where I kind of start to enjoy him because he is kind of starting to be his own character outside of Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, he's all doom and gloom, but that's because he literally doesn't have his soul.
I mean, yeah, but like,
who wouldn't be doom and gloom, you know?
Exactly. So I'm like,
kind of sucks. So
like, and especially because of his like selfless action at the end, it's kind of like well, you're not a total asshole. You just can be an asshole, kind of like your brother.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about how they were raised in a sense, because they've, had to do the tomb thing. They've gotten their powers, but they each have their own separate powers, but they were always butting heads in a sense. And then at one point they were taken away from each other. So
speaking of them being raised, of when Hudson was talking about the little like carving thing of like the horse.
Mm-hmm.
And how Jackson was like, you made that for me.
Mm-hmm.
That was a moment where it was just like but that shows just kind of almost how awful their childhood was. Hudson gave a gift to Jackson, but Jackson didn't know who it was from because they never really had moments of like being like doing brotherly things like exchanging a gift or like.
I don't think it was in this book, was it, that they showed how Jackson got the horse, but I don't think it was Hudson that gave it to him. I think it was one of the parents.
Regardless, I have, especially after reading Crush, like just so recently, I have issues with Jackson. Mostly his mostly toxic viewpoints. It, drives me nuts.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's just the way his character is built, or if that's because of the way he was raised by Cyrus, or because he hasn't
I
found.
think it's a mix of both, to be honest, but that still doesn't make it any less fucking annoying.
Yeah. But I think I think if he didn't always have to try and save everyone or protect everyone all the time, I think if he let that go a little bit, then he wouldn't be as uptight as he is. I still like him as a character, but I can see.
Don't get me wrong. I think
It's
he's an
quite
interesting character, but like as a person, I could not tolerate him for more than maybe a couple minutes at a time
Understandable.
before I get too fed up and I'd be like, no, you know what? No, I'm done with you and your melodramatic bullshit. Go drink some Sunny D, take an antidepressant, and go to therapy, dude.
I will be back in just a second.
Can't drink Sunny D.
I don't know. That was the first thing.
You'd have to do like the equivalent in blood.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know what like.
I'm trying to see where there was if there's any other characters that we should be talking about, because we've talked pretty much about all of the main characters, because we did Grace, Hudson, Jackson, Macy. We touched on Eden.
I love Eden. I want her and Macy to end up together because that would be great.
Is it this one? Yeah. Doom, 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 doom. I think it's this book. I'm pretty sure it's this book where they go and they visit the giants.
Yeah, and the ring.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about that.
You know what I also want? I also want, like, a fucking wedding.
That would be great if we could finish the series with some sort of at least promise of that. We're talking about having a wedding. Hope.
Ooh, sign me up.
Hi, Isis.
Oh, you can see her. Oh, yeah, she's moving around. Go ahead. We were also, I was trying to find the spot in the book where they went to see the giants, and so that we could discuss the giants. What do we think about the giant stuff?
I don't remember much from the Giants other than the fact that they had a ring. So
yeah, I love the way that the like Giants area was constructed.
Mm-hmm.
Of how it's described. Of like you can only see what 2 buildings at a time, no matter where you are facing, as like a
way of architecture
yeah.
built in the forest.
Yeah, and within the trees and around the trees and all of that, of how, and also I love the way that the like market was described, of how everybody was just eating and like I was like, can I go to this market, please? Like everything sounds delicious.
Oh, I know. But maybe not of like giant size proportions.
Oh
like,
yeah, no, it's like
smaller portions, please.
yeah. I also love the like I'm brain farting on her name, but the like young giant that was basically like crushing on Jackson.
Aram,
yeah. I literally am like, oh girl, if you knew who he actually was, you'd be running.
But the fact that she like even in the book it says that she assumed when they said that they were here for the vampire prince, she automatically assumed it was Jackson. She didn't even think about Hudson.
She was like, I don't care about that one over there. I got this one.
Exactly. And the fact that they were able to find a jewelry shop and the promise ring, that was a whole thing.
One of my favorite things is that Hudson, like, does not, at least to my knowledge, does not tell Grace what he says.
You're talking about in terms of the promise?
Yeah.
Not in this book. Yes, he does not.
That's why I said to my knowledge he doesn't.
Yeah.
That's why I like had to just be like, I know what it is, and I can't say shit.
Yeah. That's what I like about this one, because as soon as he did it, I was just like, well, what did he promise her? Like Grace was. She was questioning, well, what did he promise? If it's a promise ring, because at first she didn't even know it was a promise ring.
And I like the little jokes he makes too about it. I'm like, I have a little bit of a theory.
And that is
that the promise ring, right? It's for every promise that he makes Grace, it just like that's why he has the ring. So it's like the promise just kind of builds on itself.
No.
It's like he initially got it for one purpose, but like I think there's like one line where he's like, I promise not to do something annoying.
Let me see if I can find it.
But you get the general gist of what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah, like the promises build and stack, and once one promise is done, another.
I wouldn't necessarily say once it's done, but it's a representation of all the things that he's promising Grace.
Yeah.
About their life together now and the future and whatever else. So, like,
she's saying, so like, I promise, and then he has that, and then it builds on I promise, and then just adds to it. So it's kind of like a chain of promises.
Yeah, and it's a representation like of all the stuff that he promises Grace. Like maybe he bought it initially for that purpose, but like in my mind, that's how I'm viewing the promise ring. Is it's a representation of every promise that he's made in the series this far.
That could be, maybe.
Yeah.
Could you imagine how long that chain would be if he just said I promise and then inserted?
It could be something as simple of like he would say something jokingly, and it would be like I promise to
do the dishes every night.
Exactly. It's like you don't even use half the dishes yet you did the promise.
Right.
No, I promise to make you grilled cheese sandwiches every day. Because he makes her a grilled cheese sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He learns on YouTube how to make a grilled cheese sandwich.
I love that he did that for her, though.
Well,
she was just like, you who don't eat know how to make food.
But he's like, I do, but at the same time, I don't. I had to use the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that thought.
You can send it to me. Trying to find where the... And I love the architecture of the treehouse of the giant that they go and visit and get information from. Because that like says a lot about their community and the way that their magic works. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
Ooh, can we also talk about the crone?
Yes. That is a character that we need to discuss.
Of how I'm trying to find where we meet her.
Let's see.
Of how of like telling the story of how humans and paranormals were created and all of that. It's like
I think that was...
It's chapter 95.
I was close. I was going to say 94. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's when they get to her, but I don't think that she starts.
Later in the chapter. It is page 392. Because
Okay.
once upon a long time, magic sang in the wind that whistles through the trees and yada yada yada, and then it's like
Blah, blah, blah.
the whole thing. But it's cool of how you will learn how the paranormal beings came to be, and it is a way that in some ways matches up with how it could realistically happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it also says a lot too, because like if you remember her story, she only talks about 4 of the factions, at least that we know of, like because she said that gargoyles were created later.
Yeah, and like I also, as we were reading, I made a giant list of every single creature that had at least been mentioned in this book. Which is it ends up being witches, vampires, wolves, dragons, gargoyles, manticore, basilisk, wendigo, giants, goddesses, because those are mentioned, fairies, troll, demon, selkies, elves, goblins, and then mermaids / mermen. And then also in Crush, there was mentions of dryads, sirens, nymphs, and pixies.
And banshees.
Banshees, that's one I was forgetting.
You might as well have a magical menagerie.
That's pretty much what this is.
And then there's me that's been curating a playlist since book 1.
I would like to do that in terms of like all the songs that are listed throughout the book.
Oh, I include those as well. Like, for example, my current playlist is...
Yeah, I don't. I just want one that literally is just every song mentioned in the books. Like, no extras. I want that because then it's like you can kind of see what the characters actually listen to or what their music taste is.
I can make that. It's fine. Currently, my playlist has 59... No, not 59. That's 59 views. I have... How many songs? 41 songs.
That's a lot.
To be fair, that is more than just what's mentioned in the books. That's also Morgan adding songs.
Let me see how many are from...
Yeah, I just want a playlist of like all the songs mentioned in the books.
See. 1, 2...
But and the crone, when talking about her, like
5.
I like how they, like Grace said, she was expecting to see the crone as one way, but they saw her in a completely different way. So that questions me on, is she like the bloodletter?
9.
And
there's only 9 songs that I've caught so far.
How many?
That were mentioned in the book.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah, because the crone is described of like, I was picturing a stooped old woman. Instead, she looked like a Greek goddess. Long flowing hair, perfect porcelain skin, bright blue eyes that seemed to catalog everything about us.
Yeah, that's very different because I think like when you just say the word crone, I picture someone kind of hunched over and black hood, not necessarily.
Yeah, gray hair with maybe even like a little like cane to walk.
Right.
But it's like, oh, she must be able to manipulate the way that she looks like the bloodletter.
That's what I'm thinking too. But I also question, like, I know she tells the story, and I wonder if Grace is right in a way that she says, well, you know, she's out here by herself on an island, so is she just dragging it out so that she has company? Does she want company? Or is this like a ploy to distract them in some way, shape, or form? And then the whole flowers thing. What do we think about the flowers?
I'm still honestly kind of confused about them.
From my understanding, it seems like so she put her hand in the water, and that's why they're on her skin like a tattoo.
Yeah.
I feel like that's purely they set that up so that she could get through the prison because you can't really remove tattoos.
Yeah, and the only
That's
thing
how
that
they
she
were able to get them in.
And the only thing that she was allowed to keep going into the prison was the ring.
Right. So I think that's part of it, but then like I don't remember how she accessed them to give them.
Yeah, like it's like she like reaches in, but like I don't understand. Like I think it's like she puts her hand near it when she needs it, and then that's how it comes out. Just like how she ends up getting that tattoo that harnesses magic.
I think it's similar to that, yeah. So in some ways she reformed. Plus, if you have Remy, who apparently has some use of his magic, then that I think plays into a part of it as well.
But also, one thing that really makes me question who is Remy's mother? She has to be more important to the story than it leads on to be, because how did she know that this tattoo would be what would help this? How did she know to leave it at the prison 12 years ago before she died?
It's all seeing. That questions me too, and I hope we get more of that in his story.
Definitely.
Like that has to play a part. You can't not put it in the spin-off series.
Yeah, like she had to have been like some powerful witch or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, who is she in the grand scheme of stories? Also, I had a random thought. Is she dead? Like, is she actually dead?
I'm saying no.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, because Remy was 5 when she died, so how really good is his memory?
At that age, that's when you're really starting to remember things.
But you can also be...
but it's still kind of...
It's blurry, but also your thoughts can be kind of manipulated at that age of like, his mother disappears and the guards tell him she died.
Exactly.
Because he doesn't necessarily say like, oh, he saw her die or he saw her dead body, just that she died in the prison when he was 5.
Well, and who's to say that, and because we've already seen with the crone that she's saying you can use these flowers to fake your death so that they take you out of the prison. So who's to say that Remy's mom didn't do the same?
Yeah, didn't have access to the flowers at some point, or like somebody entering the prison giving her a flower.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions to be asked and answered. And I would also like to see like who his father was, if that plays any part in his childhood.
True.
Because some of his power might come from daddy, not just mommy.
True.
I guess we'll find out in his story. But with Covet, the Ethereum, how do we feel about the Ethereum?
I don't remember the Ethereum that well.
It's an interesting concept that I still kind of don't fully understand. Like, you go through the levels.
It's like Dante's Inferno, the 9 levels of hell. And you get to the pit where basically everything happens. Markets, fights.
Yeah, and that's like...
where the blacksmith is. Hi, Clint. I have the link if you're still able to join or not. I don't know.
Or I'm assuming just popping in on a break at work, maybe. But yeah, like that, I'm like, I also like the idea of the chamber is very interesting of how it makes you like go through. It's essentially torture.
Yeah, you have to go through the different levels, and each time you enter a different level, you go through a torture in a sense to
Yeah, and
be redeemed in a way.
seeing Hudson's of how it's him killing Grace is just so heartbreaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this also brings back to right before they went in, when Flint's mom basically told him, you have to atone for what you've done in order to be able to get out.
Yeah.
And I'm going, well, I mean, you have to atone for what you've done, but from my understanding, Grace has already kind of like said, okay, this is done, drop it. So now I guess he has to atone. Is that like all of his thoughts and everything?
No.
I don't really know.
And how does the prison know?
Well, we learned that
magic.
Yeah, but also we do learn that it's more of a not a scheme, but the way that it is run isn't super. It isn't legit. It's shady as fuck.
Let's be honest, yes. Especially when you find out who's running, and I don't like him at all.
It's literally a child.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't like him at all.
Yeah, especially of how it's like, oh yeah, to get out you have to fight these giant. What was it? Giant? It was giants, right?
Yeah, it was giants.
Yeah, it's like you need to fight these giants even though you are both basically slowly dying. It's like, excuse me?
That is true. Like Clinton said, is it really atonement or is it someone else's version of atonement?
True.
Because
and also what others think you have to atone for could be different than what you truly need to atone for.
Yeah.
That is true. And we don't really know which way, like the version, because I mean, we see that they can't really leave. So even if they did atone, would the prison actually set them free? Or like we saw with one of the other prison people, I think they quote unquote atoned, but then they just got moved. So it's a whole thing. And what about the torturing? What do you guys think?
Feelings.
It's just sad.
Oh yeah.
Seeing them in the like, especially seeing them like in the aftermath of just being very shaken up and very fearful of just themselves, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially, oh my god, what broke my heart is after one of the times in the chamber of Grace basically mentioning of like Hudson spending like almost like half the night in the shower, him scrubbing off the fake, like the blood that he felt in his torture because he was covered in blood. And it's just like, I remember reading that and like remembering what his torture was, and it was just like, oh my god, you need therapy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think they would all need some sort of therapy with what they have to go through, but it also like makes you think like each one of them had to atone for something. Like Calder and Flint, well, I think we know what Flint would be atoning for, and then there's Hudson's, but we also noticed that Grace and Remy do not go in. Like, they don't have to atone for anything.
Well, Remy explains that he somehow, with his magic, is able to keep Grace out. But we don't understand how or why, and he doesn't even understand why he can keep her out, and he doesn't understand himself how he can stay out.
Yeah.
It's just something that happens.
Well, yeah, I would like to know more about that. Why, like, what kind of magic is he able to use to keep them both out of being able or having to go through that torture?
I also wonder, what Clint just said is Remy was born in the prison, which is why he doesn't have to atone. That's really what I was thinking of. He was born into the prison, so he has technically nothing to atone for because he didn't do anything. What he did was literally just being born.
That makes me also question his parents.
And so it's like, does he have to, like, he shouldn't really have to atone for being born when that wasn't his choice, versus everybody else, what they're atoning for is based on their actions and their choices that they've made in the past.
Right.
Yeah.
This prison is a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't survive
about, like, the process that they have to go through to just get in before they can do their intake paperwork, and then going into the cell, like, that's enough in itself. And then everything that they have to do after that in order to get out is a lot.
Yeah.
And also of how, one thing that also is a big question is how they were told to look for Remy.
Yeah. How would Flint's mom know him?
Exactly. I'm like, how does that? Well, there's something
How
missing.
is there a connection?
Like, yeah, it's like they're like we're like that meme of like all of those things, and we're trying to figure out how it connects, and it's like but it doesn't.
Yeah, especially since, like you said, if he was born in the prison, he has nothing to atone for, so he's just kind of hanging out at this point. But if Flint's mom said specifically look for or ask for Remy, how would she know to ask for him?
But how does she even know that he is alive? Because I'm gonna assume that there's no contact from inside the prison to outside the prison. So wait, this may be. I have a theory. Is Remy's mom isn't dead, somehow escaped the prison, and somehow that information got back to Nuri, or Remy's mom knows Nuri?
That's what I'm wondering.
That's the only thing that logically makes sense.
Somebody had to have said something somewhere, and it got passed along the grapevine, and she said, this is the one you need to look for.
Exactly.
But the question becomes, who?
Who, what, where, how? That's pretty much all the questions.
Who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Yeah, because it can't be magic, Clint. It just doesn't just happen because.
Even
there
then,
has to be a logical explanation.
Exactly. That's one
Somebody has to have said something.
That's one thing I do like about this series is even then when it's like, oh, it's the answer is magic, the magic is based in some kind of logic of like paranormal creatures logically exist because of their creation via the goddesses that created them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good idea, but
what if Remy's mom is the head of the witches? Listen, if that's the case, I've got more questions.
No, it's like, how did she end up in prison? How did she get out? Like, True. Why wasn't she able to get out with Remy?
Or at least high up in the witches. I feel like, though, that could be a possibility. But again, like I said, there would be a lot of questions as to who she mated with, how did she get in the prison? How did she, quote unquote, get out of the prison? If in fact she is still alive and not dead. And why would she leave her son behind in a
She's just a
prison?
horrible mother.
I mean,
Yeah.
she had to have had a reason.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. And how did Calder end up with Remy? Is that just she got put in with him, or I would like to know that story as well. Did he choose to have a roommate?
Now, no.
Wonder.
Have questions. What else do we have? What else? Wasn't there a scene with fighting and Hudson and possibly getting drunk? I don't know.
Oh my God, Flint getting
Drunk
drowned.
Flint.
Oh,
Yes, somebody got drunk.
I have something about that underlined, and where is it?
He said
Nope.
because wouldn't all the heads know each other and talk? This is a possibility. That I do have questions about that though, because somebody would have had to have known something, and if the witches knew and others were talking, then maybe they would have tried to figure out a way to get him out. Also, he says maybe she couldn't take him because of a vision that he needed to be there for Grace.
Maybe.
Ooh. Okay.
But also, like, I just need to read out the part where Flint is a whole mood drunk.
Where are you at?
555.
555. Okay. Go for it.
How much did you win? Remy asked, but before Hudson can answer, Calder comes striding through the tables with Flint over her shoulders. He's singing Billie Eilish's Bad Guy at the top of his lungs and is completely wasted. And I just went, Flint is a whole ass mood.
I love that, to be honest.
And then it's like Flint simply lays there singing until he gets to the chorus, then grins up at me with a smile and even loopier than Hudson's. Hey there, pretty lady, he tells me in the worst version of a southern accent I have ever heard. You have pretty hair. Did I ever tell you have pretty hair? He reaches out and grabs a curl. You have not. And then later, and then he ends up starting to sing BTS's Dynamite. And then Remy asking Calder, what the fuck did you do to him?
Right. That's great.
And then he sings Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus.
There's so many songs.
Like right there is 3 songs that Flint decides to sing.
I want to know why they thought that was a good idea. Just have him drink himself into oblivion.
Well, it wasn't that he had it. That he he had to drink the person that they had to find information from.
Mm-hmm.
Outdrink him so that the guy would spill the beans, like spill the
That's
details.
right.
I feel like there was also another song that Grace agreed to sing with him.
I don't even remember.
Of how they're like walking. Huh. Could have sworn.
There was another song?
Yeah, there was a song that Grace was like, I'll sing it with you, or maybe it was Calder singing with him. I don't remember.
There is on 559 they're talking about doing the YMCA dance.
Ah, that's what it was.
He says Wrecking Ball was aimed at Jackson.
Yep.
Just saying.
Cough, cough.
I mean,
yeah, he was having like a sad bitch hour and just started singing that about Jackson.
Oh yeah.
He was having a thing. Yeah, I don't see the song, so unless it was like that them dancing or whatever to the YMCA.
Yeah, it could have been that my brain was like it was.
I'm picturing them all doing the YE YMCA thing now.
Yeah.
Jackson equals Liam. Because of magic.
What?
What?
We are
Explain yourself
confused.
for-
You can't just say blank equals blank and assume we know.
Right? Explain yourself. And what about the speech? I know we're kind of like jumping ahead a little bit, but the speech that Hudson gives Grace when they're fighting the giants.
Okay,
You
I
remember
now
that?
get Clayton's comment.
Oh,
It's like, oh.
boo. Boo. Now I have to find it. His little that's afterwards. That's afterwards. And also the tattoo that she gets while in the prison. What do we think about that one as well?
Interesting. But I also love Hudson's response to it.
Yeah, I was trying to find.
I could have sworn.
I think I'm too far back. That was something else. Because that tattoo in itself had a little bit of magic.
Yeah.
Did it not? I know, I'm like trying to find it. I do like, because I saw something else about Hudson. In this one, he seems a lot more protective of Grace, but not like Jackson protective.
Not alpha hole protective, but just actually concerned protective.
Yeah, like in this one, like he shows more of that, because in book 2, even though for like most of the book he's in her head, he still tries to protect her, but in a way that like still gives her the ability to make her own decisions. And he does that in this one too. Now that he's like physically able to protect her, he still allows her to make her own choices instead of saying you're going to do it my way.
Yes.
And he also protects her in a way that, like, if someone else tries to do anything, then he cuts it off. He's, nope, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
It made me think Divergent a bit. I don't know. Maybe. And I forget, what was the tattoo supposed to do again?
I just passed the thing where it's explained.
Clint says that's because he's her true soulmate and Jackson wasn't, so he protects her the way she deserves and needs. Very true. Very well said. I think that's a big differentiation between like having the mating bond and a manufactured one. I think the true mating bond, he already knows more like what she's feeling and what she needs and what she has to do, versus Jackson's I'm going to protect you at all costs.
Yeah. I don't know if it's okay. On page 552, it's Grace is like, let's say I agree with that. What does the tattoo have to do? Vikram's tattoos can do all sorts of things. So what I think is, with the right tattoo, you can pull my magic from me, including magic I've never had access to, and hold it in the tattoo, then send it back to me, freed from the prison's magical locks. Because it's like Grace is more of like a conduit of magic, so the tattoo is meant to amplify it almost.
Okay.
That's, I think, my understanding.
So that's how he's getting out, in a sense.
Yeah,
like,
and also
gives him a flower, but
yeah, and also in the same paragraph, Remy mentions his father of, I don't know who my dad was, but my mom used to tell me a bedtime story that he gave me enough power to tear a hole in this prison to level it when I was ready. So that must mean that
if his daddy was, or his mommy was a witch and daddy was something else.
Yeah, if that's true. Because obviously we don't know.
No, we do not.
Clint says Jackson was fighting the magic hints way he was acting like an a-hole. Yeah. That could be. Clint says daddy's a god. I mean, oh.
No comment. No comment. No comment. No comment. I think we're thinking the same thing.
Oh, I'm in another tab. Is it safe for me to come over to that tab?
You can. We're just freaking out over something that we can't say because huge spoilers for you and anybody watching who hasn't read all the books.
Then I shall.
Oh. Okay. Shit. Clint just messed up my train of thought.
I'm literally writing that comment in my book.
Oh my god.
I don't know what time Daddy is, but okay.
Exactly. We can't say anything about that. You'll understand after you read.
We'll revisit this topic next month.
Yeah, next month.
Okay. Wow, okay. So, we discovered that the tattoo is helping Grace conduit magic from one and back to the same person.
It like amplifies their magic.
Yeah, because you were saying in the book, Remy can only access so much of his magic. But because she's a conduit, she can pull all of the magic out, even stuff that he doesn't have access to, and then give it back to him once he releases his cuffs. So that's what the tattoos are for.
Yeah.
So my brain is fried. I was going to ask a question and no, you're good, because it doesn't really say anything.
We're talking in code.
But I think me and Hope were there. We were kind of like
there. I was literally like, "What the?"
I was asking questions.
Yeah.
What else do we need to talk about with this book? Because I'm
I
flustered. I lost all train of thought.
I mean, I feel like the only thing that I have to that I want to discuss is of how the whole thing of with the crown of how like they have to go to the islands of the Unkillable Beast to get the crown, but then Cyrus attacks, but then that's actually a distraction.
Mm-hmm. We can talk about that. What do we think about that? I feel like that was, I don't want to say well planned, because I feel like they just went on a whim to say this is what we need to do next. But how would Cyrus know where they were headed?
That's where I'm like
So either somebody said something.
Cyrus knows that they're going there because he was tipped off by the fuck is your name? The person at the prison, the kid. Why am I
I forget his name as well, but basically the one who was leading the prison or
of like charge of it. Tipping them off, like he tipped Cyrus off of like, yeah, they're getting out, and somehow in the process it was, but I don't know how they would know about going to the Unkillable Beast to get the crown.
And how would he know if the Unkillable Beast even had the crown?
And the crown is a thing of itself in this book of how it's like, well, what does it even actually do? Like we know it can potentially break a mating bond. Or at least that's what the blood letter says it can do.
Well,
but other than that,
it doesn't seem like it's a tangible thing, though.
See, the crown is something that I literally do not remember anything about from the next book. I know it's mentioned
correctly. It's not like it's a like tangible one you wear on your head type.
Well, yeah.
So that begs the question, like, what does it really do?
Yeah, like what's its true purpose?
Or Chaos Mama.
Can't talk about that.
What if the crown doesn't do anything? I mean, it has to have some sort of significance, though, because why would it be such a big deal in this book and possibly the next couple of books for it to be even mentioned? If it didn't do anything, then I don't feel like it would be mentioned as if it were. And why, if it does nothing, why would Cyrus be
like want it
so badly as he does?
And then also it's like, if it was nothing, why would we literally jump through leaps and bounds and hoops and literally like go to prison for nothing?
And I mean, it could be very well what Clint says, or it just amplifies the holder's thoughts and abilities. But
yeah, I feel like it is talked about in court, but I just don't remember what.
I remember, I just can't say.
I don't remember most of it. So
I'll send you messages later.
Okay.
But even still with this book, it's so heavily like, we have to get this, we have to get this, we have to get this. And even if it just amplifies the holder's thoughts and abilities, I don't see that being such a we have to jump through flaming hoops and leaps and bounds to get it. Maybe it's if you have it, depending on what you do with those thoughts and abilities. It amplifies what you can do. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I would like to see, even if it's just like a short story, because they were able to get the blacksmith out. I would like to see a short story of him returning to his wife.
Oh, my heart
Like I
would
feel
break
like
at that.
I feel like because he's been gone for so long that I would like to see them like him return to her and see the house change after, like maybe Grace and everybody gets invited so that they can celebrate his
A
return,
welcome home party.
right? And then they can see the house change and maybe it flourishes because he's returned and he's kept his promise.
Yeah.
But and I would like to know, like, in all of the book series, like after book 6 is done, from the time that book 1 starts and the time that book 6 ends, I would like to know what the timeline is for this, because it's either in a very short amount of time and these kids are not sleeping a lot, or it's expanded between certain, because we already know, like, in between book 1 and 2 there's at least a 4-month span,
Yeah. We know that
and
Grace.
supposedly book 1 was like 2 weeks.
Book 1 was 2 weeks. It was from like the beginning of November, and now they graduated. So we'll put that at May-ish.
That's what I'm wondering, because I would like to know, like, when their school year starts and when it ends. Is it a typical, like, school year?
Well, I think
Are
it
they?
might not be, because it's only because at one point it's said that only like the only students that ever leave at the end of a school year is the seniors after they graduate. Everybody lives there mostly year round.
And I get that, because I feel like it would be like a boarding school
Yeah,
in the
probably
sense that, like, you could
besides.
live or anything like that.
Yeah, probably
Or
besides. Well, I imagine there has to be a summer vacation for some of the students to be able to go home to their families.
so then is it like Hogwarts where they have semesters, but then again, like, you have to differentiate between the different grade levels, and I want to know, like, where all of this takes place, like how long
Yeah.
of a time span.
Also, tell me how I just remembered that the like Katmere Academy guide is supposed to be read between book 3 and 4, and now I'm seeing if it's on Scribd.
I know I can get it through my library, but I think it's
It's
only
on
an
Kindle
ebook.
Unlimited for me.
So there you go, the Katmere Academy Insider's Guide. If you have questions, maybe it can answer some of them. We've just listed 3 different areas where you can get it: library, Scribd, Amazon,
I
Kindle,
don't actually think
Kindle
it's on
Unlimited.
Scribd, but I will look at my library.
Clint says again, magic. Listen, there's enough magic in this series that it might entirely be possible, but I doubt it. I have questions. And I don't have time to read the Katmere Academy thing right now, so.
That sounds like a personal problem.
Morgan, I might be having to sign into your Amazon to use your Kindle Unlimited because it's not even available at my library.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Because it says this is not in your library's catalog. I can have it notify me for whenever it's added, but I need to read it within the next like 2 weeks.
I know I can also get it through Hoopla Digital, which is sort of my library. So I don't know if you guys have access to anything like that.
I have Hoopla, but I don't know because it would be the same system probably.
I hear her, but I don't see her. My cat's meowing. Magic is the answer to everything. Well, it possibly, I don't know.
Maybe.
Tell me why my brain just went, okay, Clint, so if I ever visit and things magically go missing, it was magic and not me stealing your books.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not available on my Hoopla. Hey, it's a kitty.
It's Isis. You say hi. You're the one that was being talkative. You gonna settle down? Mm-hmm. Go on.
No.
Anything else that we want to talk about?
I mean, I have some like funny notes probably throughout my book.
Go for it. We can talk about things that we've tabbed.
Yeah, things that we've tabbed, and as we go through the notes, maybe things might pop in our heads.
Yeah.
Because I just know that they're like literally on page 2, I have a note of how it mentions that Cole is expelled and goes to a school in Texas for paranormal delinquents. And I'm like, I just put a note of kind of intrigued.
Yes. Makes me wonder if there's going to be a story with all of that. I would like to see one, please. Hello, Trin. No worries for just joining. How is everyone doing? We're doing fine. Discussing Covet.
On page 6, I have underlined, so Macy's eyes are positively sparkling with humor now. You thought about hooking up with Hudson, and I just put, fuck yeah.
One of the other things I noted too on the very first page, the beginning of chapter 0, it noted, because it said it like 1, 2, 3, 4 times, that since the last book, it's only been 5 days for the beginning of this one. So 5 days after Xavier died.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. It does seem like for the beginning, it's quite gloomy because of everyone dealing with his death. I think I also commented something about the page 6 thing that you said. But like on page 6, the sentence says, both of them watching me with eyes that appear blank on the surface but hold a multitude of emotions underneath, waiting on me to do or say something. And I was like, say it already.
On page 9, Macy goes, you're not alone, and you don't have to go it alone. That's what I'm here for. That's what all of us are here, especially your boyfriends. Boyfriend, I correct, stretching the hard D at the end. 1, not 2. I hold up my index finger to make sure she gets it. 1 boyfriend. Oh, right, 1, of course. Macy shoots me a side look. So, just to be clear, which vampire is that exactly? And my note is just, Macy, I love you so much.
Same.
I liked that one too, because I know that we have that whole like Jackson's mating bond is done, but she does have Hudson. So to me, this right here kind of goes, well, you've already got your answer. You just have to accept it. Can we accept it and move on?
Yeah.
Yep.
But then I also commented, I was like, because of her lack of memory, she can't just move on because she doesn't remember anything.
Yeah. I know I've had a couple notes before that I can't share, but when Flint grabs the blood pancakes and he puts them on his plate, I just put weirdo. I'm trying to.
Then there's the whole, like, on page 11 where they're talking about the mating bonds and stuff. And Macy's reiterating the mating bonds never break. They just don't. They can't. It's a law of nature. And then she says, except somehow yours did. And I made a comment. I was like, that's because.
I just have a note that's just screaming as Hudson goes, "Sure you did." His gaze is locked on mine. But on the plus side, at least I know you're wearing my favorite pair. And this is a reference to underwear, of how her pants were ripped.
Yeah.
And I was just like screaming.
Is this? Oh, wait. Remy's book is supposed to be set at that school Cole goes to.
Good.
Oh. If it is, that'll be interesting.
I don't know. I'm just taking a photo of this page because I want to be able to share my thing, but I can't right now.
OMG, Remy is getting a book. How did I miss that? Yes, it was announced, and I think it's coming out this year. November 7th, I feel like, is the release date for Vengeance.
Something
I'm so excited.
I have a comment, or I'm not going to say what line it's from, like, because if I say the line, it gives context and it's a spoiler. But it's just
page number.
Page 40. It's
Okay.
like the first paragraph. You'll understand what I'm saying when I do it. Is liar, liar, Armani pants on fire. Because I'm calling Hudson a liar. And then later in the page, I said again, liar, liar, Armani pants on fire. Because he's lying.
Yeah.
I literally had that thought in my head and I bust out laughing. I was like, if I don't write that down, it's a crime.
I'm trying to see where that is. You said it's in the beginning of 40?
Yeah, where it's like, no, he shakes his head.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a liar, liar, pants on fire type scenario.
No, specifically Armani pants on fire, because that seems like that's all he wears. And then I'll just say this. In chapter 12, towards the beginning, the cookies. Of how I mentioned the cookies. Of how he knows what the cookies are.
Oh, yeah. That was kind of creepy. I mean, I get where he got it from, but like that's creepy that she's like, how would he know? And the jumping jacks. That was 46. There was one that let me see if I can get to it.
On page 51, when Grace goes, Jax and I broke up, I just put yes with 3 S's.
Yes.
I was like, yes. String.
And some of these chapter titles are definitely interesting. Like, I want to know who, like, these chapter titles and how they come up with them.
Yeah. On page 76, I have a note for the lines, but how can he just do that? I made it to someone for God's sake, and I still care about him. Yes, things feel different between us. Yes, I have confusing emotions zinging around inside me for Hudson, but that's the bond, not me. And I put, sure, hun.
You keep telling yourself that.
You tell yourself that. If that makes you sleep at night.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of the things that she does, and I know like this plays a part with her memory and such, but it's like she doesn't want it to be real. And I get that that's a whole, like, because of the memory, but it's like she's fighting it. She's fighting going back to where she knows she belongs.
Yeah. Also, when they're going to the bloodletters and Hudson brings Grace like a small bouquet of wildflowers, my note in just all like uppercase is just I love him.
Mm-hmm.
Like just, and then I just have underlined on page 99. Beautiful, but he's not looking at the flowers when he answers. He's looking at me, and somehow that makes everything better and worse all at the same time.
I know that is like, man, if you only knew.
Ooh, also another time thing. It's been when Grace and Hudson go to the bloodletter. It's been 6 weeks since she went
Last time.
Yeah, so we know that it's been 6 weeks in between the bloodletters visits.
Interesting.
But we also know that 3 of those weeks in between that were in between books. Technically plus 5 days because of mentioning in the first thing. So technically, from the point they went to the bloodletter to the point of
Xavier.
Yeah, dying, that was like 2 weeks.
See, this whole timeline stuff is like, it's like 2 weeks, and then there's like 4 month span, and then there's 2 weeks, and then there's like a
yeah, it's like, okay, I mean, think about the giant time thing between end of court of how the epilogue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we know how long that time is.
No, we don't. Because it happens so quickly. So they literally come back from Dragon Court. They do graduation, and then they're hauled off.
Yeah, it's immediately. It's like, oh my god.
I have questions.
Okay, this is not a spoiler. This is just on page 111, not 111, 110, of where I think this is the bloodletter saying this. Are you worried about Jackson's imaginary mate? She asked. Or are you worried about yourself? Where it says imaginary mate, I literally crossed it out and just wrote Flint ?
Yeah, because I feel like we've already got a little bit of hinting.
Yeah. So I'm trying to flip through this. Oh. On page 126, this is when Hudson brings Grace the grilled cheese, some sliced fruit, and Dr. Pepper. I just put in, like, the fucking grilled cheese. We've already talked about that, but my note is literally just the fucking grilled cheese. And then just another note is he's fucking perfect, and that's in reference to Hudson.
Because why would he not be? Clint says, get rid of the question mark. Flint and Jackson are anything, and no one can tell me otherwise, damn it.
I'll turn the question mark, if I can find the page again, into an exclamation point. Where even is the note?
And in chapter 33 in the Netflix and No Chill, can we just talk about the diverse group of shows or movies that they are talking about between Buffy, Monsters, Inc., and The Empire Strikes Back?
I mean, taste.
They just jumped around from, like, all of the different, like, quote-unquote monsters and then go to The Empire Strikes Back.
Also, in that same chapter of when Wow, I make a face at him. Who peed in your cup of blood? He just kind of stares at me for a while, then says, I don't even know where to start figuring out what that means, and I'm pretty sure I don't want to know. Of how it's like a reference to the like joke of like who pissed in your cornflakes.
Exactly. I wouldn't want to know what either. Which all kind of relates to the story, maybe. I mean, if you think about it, because Buffy has vampires and then Monsters Inc. because they all see themselves as monsters, and then the Empire Strikes Back. It's
Also,
Star Wars.
On page 147, I don't have a note for this, but this is just one of like a quote in the book that I love. Is there are times I wish he was there. Times it almost feels lonely without him. And that's Grace talking about Hudson. And it's like, damn.
That goes back to she's fighting the inevitable. Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay. But Hudson just going bad doggy to the wolves.
That makes me laugh every time.
Especially because it's like imagine just like a bad doggy in like a very pompous British voice. It's just like hilarious. Like the audiobook does that so amazing.
I love how the audiobook does do the different accents. So when they're talking in Hudson's, then it's very British type.
British and pompous, and even when it says of like how like he sounds more British when he's mad, the audiobook does a great job at doing that.
Yes.
This is also going back to our conversation about how like Grace describing Hudson's bed, of how it's part hilarious because Hudson really is the most sarcastically unapologetic vampire I've ever met, and part sexy as fuck because I can't help but picture him lying half naked in the middle of the bed, his skin warm with sleep, and his usually perfect hair all messed up. It's a really good picture, so good in fact that my cheeks are burning, and that's before I even hear a thud sound behind me. It's like, so you're saying that you're imagining him
in that bed
at least half naked.
Yep.
And then also of the thing of like, oh hey, my voice is about 3 times higher than usual as I try to pretend that he didn't just catch me imagining him half naked while staring at his I can fuck you senseless several times in a row bed.
That's like, definitely not YA.
That's not YA.
Yeah, that was the line that I was thinking of.
Yeah, so you can clearly see that like there's transition in this series. The first 2 books are more YA-ish.
And this is like Hudson. This is Hudson's a main character, and he is not PG-13 in anything he says or thinks. I swear, just imagine this book from his point of view. It would be 95% of him just going, I love Grace. She's so hot. I want to fuck her.
I was not expecting you to go there, but okay.
Have you met me?
Yeah, I have. And
the way that you just said that, though, it kind of is like Edward, but like opposite of his doom and gloom. It's like,
yes,
I love Grace. All I want to do is her.
Yes.
But I get the hint of like, instead of brooding Edward, it's that I'm happy and I want to go with the flow. Oh my gosh.
When Eden pops her nose back into place, I just have a note which is badass.
That, and I cringed at the same time because I was like, oh, why? Why would you do that?
And then also, on page 182, good God, people, get a room, Flint calls out. We are in my room. We are in a room. My room, in fact. Hudson tosses over my shoulder at Flint. It's kind of like so you know what he would do in the room if they were alone, if Grace let him.
Dun, dun, dun.
Or even I probably have a note later of when they come back to Katmere and they're like, if I stay in your room, we won't get enough sleep for graduation. Why? This is YA.
What are you doing? Yeah.
What are you doing?
And also on 182, I also caught a reference in that one, and all I said was OMG, because that same paragraph actually.
182?
Yeah, on 182, where it says, "Good God, people, get our room." Flint calls out, shattering the moment. My only thought, my face was warm earlier. Now it's practically on fire because, oh my God, did I almost just climb Hudson like a tree?
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh, that's
I would do the same
thing. Yep. You just imagined that.
Oh my gosh.
I think after that, I was just kind of like, okay, I can't really, if I want to get this read on time, I can't really tab and annotate, but I was making mental notes. So now it's just a matter of like finding them.
On page 206, when Hudson calls Grace babe for the first time, I just put little hearts around it.
When he did
also,
what?
When Hudson first calls Grace babe, how it's like, Hudson winks at me, babe, if people keep coming to kill you and you couldn't run away but could use earth magic, what would you do? And then on the next page is Grace kind of describes like Hudson as, it feels like coming home.
Because it is home.
I feel like he knows way more about her than she knows of him. But he doesn't, instead of exploding the "I know more about you," it's let me drop you a subtle hint to let you know that this is what you can do. And what would you do in this scenario?
Okay, so this kind of ties into our last, like at the end of the Crush Live, we were talking about the circle, like the various circles of how we have the circle, but then also this of how on page 219 towards the bottom, Hudson says, actually, we were trying to keep a low profile. We were traveling in such a small group, but several of us are representatives from the Indigo Circle. 4 of us are members of the ruling families, and we were hoping to pay our respects and yada, yada, yada. And then I'm like, name of circle with vamps, which is gargoyles, wolves, and dragons, which is the Indigo Circle. So I'm like, is it like each certain, like there's certain factions that are under one color of the circle, and it all kind of comes together to be like, the colors of the rainbow are the factions? Like,
that's what I'm wondering. I also wonder if it's like if it's that, or if they have like, because they're Indigo Circle, are there more like Roy G. Biv type?
Yeah, of like, oh, maybe certain creatures are the red circle, and then certain like,
because I imagine, because when they mentioned like water, I imagine that would be like blue-ish. But then fire might be red or orange, and then there's others in between. I don't know what this means, so take that with what you will. Hudson equals Ryson, just saying.
Yeah. Also, it says on page 221 of, you said you were for the Indigo Circle. That means dragons, wolves, vampires, and witches. Blonde man bun interjects, but she is none of those things. So that means Indigo Circle is dragons, wolves, vampires, and witches. That is what makes up the Indigo Circle.
Yeah, so that begs the question, does gargoyles go to a different circle, or are they, because they balance everything, they kind of go
They're
for all
circles. They have a spot on all of them, maybe, to kind of have peace. against all of them.
Yeah. OMG, that would be cool. I love that rainbow idea. Or is it because they are indigo kids? I don't know. That is a good question. Maybe gargoyles are green and neutral?
Maybe.
That would definitely play into the whole balance too. And green, if you think about like in terms of Roy G. Biv, that's 7 colors, and green would be in the middle.
So it's like the peacemaker between the other colors.
Yep. It would be like the odd number out, so to speak, but also in terms of like balance, because the colors could teeter either way. I like it. That is an idea. I would like to know more about this.
Okay, I think that I just wrote LOL is when like first of all, Hudson giving Grace a diamond for her birthday.
Yeah.
Like, hello. And then also of how when he goes, happy birthday, Grace, and she is so stunned that she just responds, happy birthday, Hudson, and like laughs. I like bust out laughing.
I also, thinking about that, like he gave her a book and he said that was the socially acceptable gift. But then why is the diamond not a socially accepted gift?
Because it's
I want to know.
And it's not attached to a ring?
That is true. But I don't know. I have questions about it.
Yeah. At the beginning of chapter 67, when Grace goes, I didn't get an A, but I know I passed. And today, that's all that matters. I just put mood/me.
She's like, I am done with this. I don't care as long as I passed.
Yeah, it's like, as long as I graduate, that's me at this point. I'm like, I don't need the best grades ever. I just need a grade to pass.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Again, not a note. This is on page 296 at the bottom. But it works for us, so I shrug. My job is to make sure my mate's ego's in check so he can always fit his head through the door. And it's my job to push her buttons. Hudson fires back, dimples flashing. Macy looks between both of us. Macy looks between both of us and says, "Are you guys talking in some sex code?" And then it's like, "Oh my god!" I glance at Hudson, and yes, he was.
But I love this kind of banter between them. It just says like who they are as a couple and their relationship, that they can do those kinds of things and be okay. I love that for them.
Okay. So I found a line that kind of ties back to what we were saying about how Nuri gave Jackson her dragon heart. And Nuri ends up saying on page 317 to Grace, yes, I've suspected for a while that he was in love with Jackson Vega, in reference to Flint being in love with Jackson. And it's like, so she knows that. So that's why she does it, probably, or at least part of her motivation. It's confirmed right there.
And then my question too, like, how does she know? Like, does her son say something? Can she feel that being the Dragon Queen? Is it like he kind of acts a certain way when Jackson's around? That type of thing. So,
but I just imagine that he goes home and cry. He went home once and started crying to his mom. I'm like, I'm in love with somebody who won't love me back. And she's like, who is it, sweetheart?
Mm-hmm.
I just imagine like him being like that type of person, of him just going to his mom and just like being very like, I'm gonna tell you anything that I want to tell you.
Clinton says, of course they are. It's natural to them, and I love the foreshadowing it gives us to charm. Yes. Maybe she feels their bond. That's another question I had too. Because she is queen, like Dragon Queen, does she have some sort of ability that allows her to be connected to her I guess other dragons, kind of like the gargoyles, in a sense that, you know, like the unkillable beast can talk to Grace. Is it something like that with the dragons?
Yeah. The chapter title for 78 is Dungeons and Dragons, The Grace Loses Her Shit edition, and I just love this title.
As the leader, maybe that gives her abilities to understand things and feel connections. Ooh,
Maybe.
that's a possibility.
Yeah,
that all of the chapter titles in these books are amazing. It's like they give away the chapter without actually giving away the chapter. There's some sort of connection in the title. Also, with the ball gowns and stuff, I want to know how Hudson knew what size Macy was. Like, he sent ball gowns for both Macy and Grace, but then they also took one of those dresses and laid it out for Eden.
magic? Put a Clint's default answer of
Yeah,
It's also possible that they got an array of sizes, because it's not like the Dragon Court is going to have a lack of fine, like, fancy clothes. So it's possible that they got like an entire range of different sizes, knowing one would be bound to fit. Or, you know, like Hope and Clint said, magic. Maybe the dress is like magically fit to whoever's body.
He's a vampire and he just knows things, is what Clinton says.
That is also true.
I feel like he would know Grace, but not Macy.
Yeah,
but
Grace, I understand. What was he doing? Swooping in Macy and Grace's closets at some point?
I mean, when he was in Grace's head, I mean, he did say that he put artifacts in the top of their closets, so maybe he happened to see the different size.
Yeah, I'm just like, ooh, that shirt says a size this, and those pants are a size this. Okay.
His eyes move fast, and he did the math in his head.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible.
Okay, this line at the end of 427 made me literally start crying. As I open it a couple of minutes later and stare at the 8 smiling faces, I pray to the universe as hard as I can. Somehow, some way, we all make it through what's to come in one piece and together. And I said, "Fuck you, Tracy, for what you did." And that's like the photo at graduation.
Yeah.
And then also just in reference to like the color of the like robes and all that, of how it's like
plant purple.
Yeah, and look like a giant penis. His eyes on the other guys with vague amusement. I don't think so. It's like, okay.
And why purple?
I mean, it's maybe it's the color that they wear.
I know, but
purple, indigo. The school only has factions from the Indigo Circle.
But indigo would be a purple blue. Well, or a blue purple.
But still,
it wouldn't be straight purple.
Well, but still, you get what I'm saying. It's within the color spectrum. Yeah. It's similar, so like that kind of makes sense.
Oh my goodness.
My heart. Yeah, knowing that one person in that photo does not survive the end of the book.
No.
And I think I've now gotten to my point where I've kind of slowed down on notes. Come on. Can I not flip these pages any faster?
I'm kind of the same. Can I just show my bookmark real quick? This is very. It's for the series. Like, it's not for the series, but this describes the series. Falling one word at a time.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect. I'm trying to think of...
Chapter 126 of I Love You to Death, Whether I Want to or Not. That's the chapter when Grace goes into like Hudson's mind during the chamber.
Oh.
And that's I think the moment where she's like, I love him.
Clint says, I don't know whose death hurts me the most. I cannot answer that question until the end of the series.
Yeah, I'm like, I know whose death hurt me, and it's not somebody we've met so far.
I mean, in ones that we've had thus far, I can't, like, they all seem to be characters that were attached, but we're not super attached to.
I'd say if I have to pick one of the deaths that we've had so far, it would be probably Luca, because of just everything emotionally happening in that moment, and then it's like, boom, he's dead. It's like, wait, huh?
Is that like a plot twist? Yeah.
It's just like, okay, but you're like, I thought one of those were dying, not him. Like, it's like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh wait, this entire thing just made me chuckle. So, if you slap my ass, I warn, I'm gonna make you suffer. He laughs and pulls his hurt rib with a groan. It might be worth it, especially since you didn't deny having the heart. This is in reference like the tattoo, I think. This is what I was thinking. Like another tattoo. Why should I deny it? Where else would an ass like you belong? Hudson chuckles, but Flint groans. Jesus, could you two just do it and get it over with already? Some of us are sick of suffering through your sexual frustrations. That's not frustrations, Dragon, Hudson growls, but there's no heat behind the words. It's foreplay. Do I need to give Luca a little direction in that area? Luca's doing just fine in that department, Flint tells him, but thanks for the offer. It made me laugh so much. I'm just like, oh my god, you guys are such teenagers. Because like that's what teenagers would joke and say stupid shit like that, and then like kind of be like, why did I say that?
Mm-hmm.
I just have underlined a line of the universe is a fickle bitch.
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
Not me literally underlining almost half of a page because it's the scene where basically Grace is thinking of like, but the truth is I want Hudson, I love Hudson, and I just have that entire thing just underlined.
It's like, can we just get that out there in the air, get it out in the universe, and
yeah.
Mine might not be dead. Ha ha ha. I don't know. We don't know.
We will have to see.
I can tell you right now, like when we finally do get to like read Cherish and do the discussion for it.
Because it'll be like nobody would have read it before. Also at the end of Charm, being able to just be like, here's what we think is going to happen based on everything we know so far.
Yes. I cannot wait for that because it's going to be so much fun.
Also, I just have a thing of on page 615. It's like, we've got a problem. And I'm like, to whose surprise?
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't we always have some sort of problem in the end of the book, which then turns out leading into the next one, or some way has some sort of like repercussion that goes into the next one. Clint says it is. I can't believe that if you think about it, we are now halfway through the series in discussions.
Oh my gosh. Damn.
So, like, this marks the halfway point. Then we have 3 books and then the Crave-a-thon.
But yeah, we still need to figure out the fine details of that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to come up with a
discussion date where we just talk about that.
Yes. Do we have anything else to say?
I don't
Other than we love the series, we love where it's going. We don't like when characters die off, and we're here for the rest of it.
Yeah, I don't think I have any notes that are like more than just me thinking stupid shit or underlining random things.
Clint says, "You ladies have fun. I have to get ready for a meeting at work here in a few minutes. Good luck with your meeting, Clint.
Yeah, have fun.
Thanks for stopping in."
Okay, this is my last underline that I'm going to mention is this is from one of the Hudson's like bonus chapters of like in the book. It's like the first one of it's like, but wait, there's more. It's like that first one of blood is really thicker than water.
Mm-hmm.
His words are a direct hit, but it's not like I'm going to cry about it. Two Vegas acting like babies are 2 Vegas too many.
Yeah.
It's like,
One at a time, please. We cannot deal with both of you at the same time.
Take your turns, and we need 3 to 5 business days in between each. So book your appointment to cry over at, knowing it would be Grace because she would be the one that both of them would cry on.
Yep.
Or about.
Yep. I peeled a tab and I shouldn't have. Oh, shit. Oh, well. I will just put it in the book for now and figure it out later. I'm going to finish reading it after this, so I'll finish it by the end of the day. Well, if there's nothing else, then we will go ahead and end it and go backstage.
Sounds good.
Oh, what did everybody rate the book when they read it?
5.
Same, 5.
I think I gave it a 5 when I read it for the first time. I'm not 100% sure what it is now, but
that makes sense. All right. Well, we will go ahead and end this. Anyone in the comments, thank you for joining us for the past 2.5 hours while we discussed different characters and scenes and all of the things from Covet. Thank you to my lovely co-hosts, Morgan and Hope, for joining. And we will see you guys in the next one. In April, we will be doing Court. And so far, I think we are on schedule to do the discussion the last Saturday of the month.
I think isn't the last Saturday of the month is the 29th. But Morgan, weren't you busy that day or something?
Maybe not. It depends on what my brother decides to do for his birthday. As in whether or not he's going to go to Disney or not. So
tentatively, it is the last Saturday. We'll see. But we'll have you guys updated. And it will be on Clint's channel, Readers. All of the links will be in the description. And we will see you guys next month.